Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tech Talk. This is our first episode. We're launching a new series called Tech Talk, where we're going to cover different IT topics and hopefully educate a little bit of and highlight sort of your services at Innovate and Nextgen. And being our first episode, we're going to talk about passwords today because passwords are not enough sometimes.
Absolutely, that's exactly it.
So I'm joined by Kendall Preeb, who's the IT director. Kendall, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Love it. So maybe I'd like to start off, Kendall, a little bit. I'm always curious on how you got into this role, how you got into IT. Like, where did that? Because I saw your resume on LinkedIn, and you got quite the history of in the IT world. So
yeah, you know what? I got into this, gosh, it must have been 20, 25 years ago.
Okay.
I've been doing this for a long time. And technology's changed.
Right.
It's what we do now is not the way we did it 20 years ago.
For sure.
And it started way back with a passion of just trying to fix things and helping people. I mean, that's a big passion of mine.
Right.
And IT is one of those areas that you just get to do this naturally.
Right.
People are not calling you to say, hey, it's been a great day.
Yeah.
They're calling with a problem.
Right.
So going through, years of being an IT guy to an IT manager and now directing, my career has taken very, very winding paths, but I'm glad we got here.
How long has Kelowna been home for you? Like, how long have you been in this market?
I've been here since 1995.
Okay.
In various roles, and like you mentioned, LinkedIn. It's all there. Go look it up. Go look it up.
And how long have you been in Innovate?
Innovate for 5 years, actually. I started my own company previous to Innovate.
Okay.
And we did really well in the Okanagan.
Right.
Innovate purchased my company back in 5 years ago.
Interesting.
And we've developed that IT sector quite well in Okanagan, as is evidenced by the Kelowna Now, our Best of Kelowna.
Yeah. Congrats on that.
We've done that for a long time.
Yeah. Interesting. So, I mean, I've always known Innovate as printers, copiers, but obviously you have a full IT division now. And can you talk a little bit about how you guys in the IT side help businesses and help them protect them? And then we'll jump into some of the nitty gritty and some of the stuff we want to talk about today as well. So,
cybersecurity is one of those fields that's very, very large. Security in itself, when you're talking about routers and modems and passwords, antivirus, all that stuff, there's a lot that we do. When we partner with companies, and that's what we say we do, we are partners. When we partner with companies, we try to help them with policies, whether that's password rotations, making sure that things are updated every 6 months or every 12 months, depending on what we all agree on. Sure. Making sure that they've got long passwords, But then there's things like phishing simulations that we can do too, for cybersecurity.
Interesting.
In particular.
Yeah.
Where we set up campaigns and blast out those emails to everybody in the organization, and then see who opens them or who clicks on what.
Yeah.
But then we can specifically train people based on how to recognize that email that's not supposed to be opened, or why should you recognize that email's not to you or from who it says it's from. And there are lots of other things, spam filtering, putting banners on your emails to say, this email's from a not trusted organization, or it's not from your boss, even if it says it is.
Fair enough. Interesting. But so when you guys work with companies because you're doing, I'll call that the setup side to make sure people have the right IT structure in place, but you're also, I like the word because you use the word partner. You're making sure that you're working with them alongside. You become the IT department, the outsourced IT department, for lack of a better word, where you're helping them because it's changing. Like you said, these things are in, there's different types of attacks, and then don't even get into like AI and all that sort of stuff that gets into it. So you're supporting these companies through all of that. That's sort of the advantage. Interesting.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, it changes so fast. So we try to stay up on these things. I mean, we do that because a lot of times smaller companies don't have the infrastructure,
the bandwidth to do it.
Right. So trust us, we're on it.
I love it. So today we want to talk about passwords. I'm curious, what do you see as one of the big no-nos that people are doing? Because I assume, I'm guilty of it, you use the same password all the time. So is that one of the bigger no-nos that you see that people are doing a lot of the times?
Yeah. You know, a normal password, when you're talking about a dictionary password, like say someone just uses password 123.
Right.
Nowadays, that password can be cracked within seconds.
Interesting.
Brute force, someone can get in there.
Interesting.
And we've all heard the same things, right? You know, use a capital letter.
Right.
Make sure it's not a dictionary word.
Yeah.
Put in a number and a symbol in there. But even that's not good enough nowadays. When you add that in, you know, those passwords can be cracked within maybe an hour. And even when you make it a jumble of, say, characters and symbols, you're into maybe a year, right? So make it 8 characters long. Well, now we say make it 9 characters long.
Interesting.
And there's strategies that we do, and here's just a quick tip. You know, say, for example, I'm looking for a good password. Pick a nursery rhyme. Jack and Jill went up a hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack and Jill went up a hill. Jack and Jill went up a hill to fetch a pail of water. You know, that's 13.
Interesting.
Now let's just take the first letters of all those. So J, A, G, J. You know, now you've made it complex. If you do something like that and you add a number and a symbol at the end, you've got a password that's centuries. It'll take centuries to crack.
Interesting.
And then what we say is don't use the same password for everything, right? You got Facebook, Instagram, you know, your email, your banking, right? So let's take something like that where you've got characters and numbers, and run for Facebook, we'll just add FB at the end. And then for Royal Bank or Scotiabank, whatever you are, you know, RB at the end. Now you've got a different password that's easy to remember because you're Jack and Jill went up a hill. You've got the thing at the end.
Interesting.
It makes it really complex, and now you're more secure. But there's added things that we can do to help you even be more protected in that, you know, password field.
I know a lot now, like if you work within, say, Google, they'll have Google will give you a password, for lack of a better word. Is that a good option for people to go? Or
it is.
Okay.
It is. What we say is, you know, like if you're using those, don't keep your password in the browser.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
Use something like LastPass or OnePass or there's a bunch of all those password managers out there. But secure your password someplace else. Don't put it in your browser because if I know your password for your computer, now I have access to all of it. So browser password keepers are not really that great. But you can use that password that they suggest.
They suggest, you know, we hear a lot of times in the news, you always hear like when the big hacks come, like I think WestJet was hit by cyber attacks recently. So what's the risk to this, like the local businesses or local people? Like how real is the risk for us?
It's quite large. And, you know, we say ransomware does not discriminate. When someone sets up one of those phishing attacks or one of those pieces of software that goes to attack, you know, they'll just blanket spam everybody. So you can be a smaller company or a large company. It doesn't matter. And WestJet in particular, that was breached by a third party. That's what they say.
Interesting.
So a third party, like a smaller vendor, might get breached. And then they start emailing out all their contacts. WestJet might be one of those. So one person within WestJet may have allowed that.
Triggers it.
Exactly. Now WestJet's infected, and they start spamming everybody. Now they have a much broader reach.
Sure.
So that small company actually creates a chain reaction that then, you know, gets more and more and more people involved in it.
Interesting.
And that's why we say those phishing simulations, making sure that we understand, don't open that email. You know, I'm not expecting a WestJet, you know, gift card or a Macy's Day Parade.
Look at my uncle's leaving me $1 million. I should click on it.
That Prince of Nigeria does not care about you.
No, right. Interesting. So I know one of the ways that you protect yourself is using, and we all hear this multi-factor authentication, and some of us think it's just a pain in the butt because it's like, oh, more work, and I got to put it twice. But can you explain sort of in simple terms what that is and the value of having that, why it matters?
Yeah, multi-factor authentication comes down to 3 things. It's something you know, something you have, and then something you are. So something you know is like your password or your PIN. That's kind of that first level. The second level is something you have. So your Google Authenticator that's on your phone, or another email address or your phone number, so that you're getting that text. That's second level. Or something that you are, like my fingerprint, the biometric scan. And that's those are even this, like the something that you have could be a YubiKey. I have this one.
Okay.
You can buy these online through Amazon or Ubiquity's website.
Okay.
You can also buy them through Innovate.
Yeah. We recommend that. Buy through Innovate.
But this is really good because all my multi-factors, so you've probably seen these around with banks where they have these little devices and the numbers that change every second.
Yeah.
This does it digitally. So on here is about 25 accounts that I have. And the codes change every second. So it makes it really easy. I plug this into my computer and I have those codes readily available to me whenever I need them. This is something that I have. It goes on my keychain. I took it off for this interview. Yeah. But it also has a unique little, that gold symbol there.
Right.
If I touch this, it spits out onto my computer a 25-digit password that I don't have to remember. I just tap it and it automatically does it. Huh. A long tap does one, a short tap does something else, right? So now I don't have to remember anything. So it makes multi-factor easier to manage.
So what happens if you lose that and I find it, then what happens?
You can't. It's biometric. So you have to tap this key.
Got it. Okay, your fingerprint.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now if I lose this, unfortunately, we're kind of in a go back and reset my multi-factor.
Right.
But these are really great for multi-factor authentication. There's other companies like Duo Security, Okta, Google, obviously, Microsoft. They all have their own authenticators, and they work interchangeably for most of the time. But those are multi-factor, again, something you know, your password.
Yeah.
Something you have, either a key or that phone or whatever it is.
Right. Interesting. So is a there's also a security key. Is that something different then?
Yeah, those are those ones that you would see at a bank.
That's what a security key
with
is.
That number that just keeps on changing.
Okay, and it works sort of the same way-ish, I would say?
Yeah, similarly. And when you get into multi-factor authentication, there's a bunch of different OAuths and there's a bunch of different I don't know what you call them, protocols within that. Okay. Yeah.
Interesting. That is so interesting. So is the security key or a multi-factor authentication, what is typical for like when you're working with, let's say, smaller businesses? Are you setting more, like what's typically the protocol that you work with?
The biggest thing that we try to protect is your email. That and Google and Microsoft, they have it available. You just have to turn it on. And Microsoft is actually going to force people into two-factor authentication within the next year here. So you're going to have it.
You're going to, interesting, okay.
And it's not a bad thing. I mean, your bank will offer it as free.
Yeah.
You know? Most people just don't use it. And that creates a problem because, we want to make sure that we're secure.
Yeah.
Yes, it is a little bit cumbersome when you have to put in a second piece of, but the risks are if you don't do it, you're leaving yourself open to a much larger chance of being breached or hacked. And once you get hacked, then you start that chain.
You infect everybody.
Yeah, you can, right?
Interesting.
Depending on what they're going after. There's a website. It's called Have I Been Owned? It's spelled PWNED. So Have I Been PWNED.ca or .com. Sorry. If you put your email address in there, it'll tell you if your email has been part of a breach.
Oh, interesting.
So if your email is out there, it'll tell you if you've been, your password's out there, your name, what information has been leaked in that breach. And if your password is there, chances are you're out there somewhere. So if you're on that website, change your password immediately.
So how often do you usually recommend that you change your password? Because I know you said some of them are more secure than others, but should you just get in a rhythm of, and I know a lot of places like sometimes banks will make you change it. They're like, hey, you've time to change your password or whatever. But what do you typically say is a good protocol to stay within?
Generally speaking, we say once a year.
Oh, it is? Okay.
That's kind of like the outside of it. Yeah. And we usually do that kind of during the Christmas or New Year. You're gone on holidays. You come back. You probably already forgot your password.
Yeah.
So it's a good time to change it.
Yeah.
But we say at a minimum, just change it once a year. The problem is that most people will have say it's I'm just going to pick something. Say I chose winter 2025.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
because I started winter 2025. I'll just go winter 2026. That's not changing your password well enough. You want to change it to something that is, again, a hash of characters and symbols, make it long. Some people will do stuff like, camel, staple, horse.
Right,
you know,
right.
That's even better than just changing the one number at the end.
Interesting.
You know, so there's lots of different ways that you should do. Yeah, but you should change your password at least once a year.
Well, interesting. So if someone that's watching today, maybe listening, that has a password protecting their email or bank, whatever, like, what could really happen? Like, because I think we hear about it, and then I think a lot of humans are like, it won't happen to us, right? Yeah. But it can.
It can.
Like, realistically, it can. So, like, what are some of the horror stories, like, that you've just in what you've been dealing with, right? Like, let's park what's happening to the WestJets of the world, like, because it's in our backyard.
You know what? It happens quite frequently, and we catch it. You know, we see it where people don't have passwords that are strong enough, and they do get in there. The biggest one that's going around right now are interceptions in invoices. So if someone guesses an account password, they can get in there, and now they're reading through your email and they see that I'm expecting a payment from this particular client. They will start acting as that client, saying, my bank account changed. Please pay us over here to this other account.
And you're like, sure, you don't know.
Why wouldn't it be, right? And they'll put in sneaky rules. They'll say any email that comes back from this particular client, funnel it into our deleted mailbox or into a different folder. So you don't even know that this person is communicating with them on behalf of you.
Crazy.
And sure enough, a lot of times without having policies in place and double checks, they might pay that invoice to somebody else, and now that money's gone. So making sure that you have good passwords, two-factor authentication, phishing simulations can help in all of these areas, right?
Interesting.
And policies as well. If someone emails you to say my banking information has changed, just pick up the phone and call them.
Double check. But that's, we take that for granted, but something simple as that is just making sure if it's that important of a change, verify it.
That's two-factor authentication in real life.
Which is interesting. We had a client, I won't obviously name the name, a few years ago that got held ransom, for lack of a better word, for their information, and literally had to either pay or and it was real. Like, and this was a fairly big company that got held ransom, and they had no option.
That comes back to another policy, and where Innovator Nextgen can help is making sure that you have good backups, making sure that you have offsite backups.
Right.
So if that does happen, now, we go passwords, two-factor authentication, making sure that your network is secure, putting proper antivirus on, like Sentinel-1 or, one of the other big players, and then making sure we have good backups. In case all those other gates or blocks don't catch the problem, we have a way of getting your data back without having you to pay that absorbent ransom, right? And then you're going on trust too, to making sure, someone will say, hey, pay this ransom, we won't leak your information. You're dealing with a person.
Who knows, right? You might pay and you still don't get information.
You don't know.
Interesting. So that's one thing, if you could leave people that are listening to a business owner or just regular person, because this affects personal as well, not just businesses, what's one step they could take today to make sure they're more secure?
I'd say most places that you have accounts at will have a form of two-factor authentication. Make sure you do that. Even if it's just a Google Authenticator or a Microsoft Authenticator, do that. The easiest way, though, is making your passwords complex. Just change them. Like if you're using, Fred 29 exclamation mark. Make it. Use one of the tactics that I already mentioned. A nursery rhyme or a Bible verse or something.
That's a great idea.
Take the first letter of each of them, add a number and a symbol at the end, and then put like Facebook, FB, or Royal Bank, or Instagram, or
so is it okay then? Like, so you're okay? You do recommend if it's a complicated password, first of all, and you just add that, like that's enough security. Like you're comfortable. That's interesting.
As long as it's a mixture of numbers and letters. put an uppercase in there.
Sure.
So if you're 8 characters, it's good. Make it 9 characters. You've multiplied the amount of time that breach or that hack brute force attack can be generated by almost 100 times by adding one character. So something that could be done, hacked, say, in an hour, you add one more character, you multiplied that complexity by 100 times. So now it's 100 hours for them to breach that.
That is interesting.
You know, and then when you start getting into hashes, I mean, by hash, I mean number, letter, so non-dictionary words.
Yeah.
You've exponentially made that password more secure. So if I did something as simple as like, hi, my name is Kendall. So HMNIK, that's 5 characters. And I put a 1 or a 2 between each of those letters.
Yeah.
I've made that complex enough that it's going to take a century for that password to be brute forced.
It's like never, like, talk about a key nugget today to take away, like just that simple thing of just adding that, like, because typically people don't change because A, we're lazy as humans, and B, we're like, oh, I'm never going to remember it, and whatever it is. But that's a great trick to use. That interesting. Oh, that's crazy. What a small little takeaway, but that's so important. From a support perspective, I'm curious, because you guys have offices, not like you support clients everywhere, right? Like, so you, even if you have a business that's maybe here, but also has an office in Winnipeg or wherever it may be, you can still provide that support that they need.
100%.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. 90% of what we do, we can do remotely.
Okay.
So that means you can be anywhere in Canada. Now we do have offices all throughout BC, down into Victoria, and in Alberta, and out into Saskatchewan.
Yeah, okay.
So we do have offices all over the place, so we can easily, help people
if you have to physically as well. But like I said, nowadays, a lot of your work you can do is remote anyways, and you're monitoring it remotely anyways on what's happening anyways, so you don't have to be in the office. So, so if a business, if someone's, or I say business, but anyone that's watching, maybe they feel like they're not secure enough. What's the first step that they should take with your team? Like how do they, like, what do you recommend? What's the outreach? What does that look like?
There's a holistic approach that we take when we partner with companies. And that starts with the physical layer, making sure that, if you need to, you're SOC 2 compliant or PCI compliant, do you have locks on your doors or key passes and that sort of thing. But then physically making sure that your firewalls are locked down, you don't have open ports to the world that don't need to be. And then antivirus, there's a whole plethora of steps that we take to make sure that computers and networks are secure. But it also does start with just good password management and policy. Do you have strong passwords? Making sure that two-factor authentication is turned on, and then enforcing that to make sure that you're changing your passwords once a year or every 6 months. Some companies choose to do it quarterly.
Yeah, right. I was going to say and it's not a one size fits all. I'm sure, right? Each company is going to be different.
And if you have something like this, or one of those password managers that I mentioned, like LastPass or whatever, you don't actually have to remember your password, because you just click on it and it suggests it for you.
It's there, right?
So it's there. So making sure that passwords are complex is really important. But multi-factor authentication, whether it's with one of these or with one of those Google Authenticator or Microsoft Authenticator is really important.
Interesting. And when you're working with a client, because I suspect if you're onboarding a client that's new, you're going to do I'm going to call it an assessment, for lack of a better word, because you want to know the lay of the land, tech stack, all that sort of stuff. But when you're engaging, are you running simulations to see if you could break the system on a quarterly, every year, like you're kind of stress testing the system, for lack of a better word?
There's a bunch of intrusion detection systems that will enforce on your firewalls to make sure that we know where people are trying to break in, but also those phishing simulations that I was talking about. That's one of the things that we do, where we will set up a couple, and they're not the gimmicky ones, the ones that for Macy Day Parade, we don't have Macy here, so it's not going to trick anybody. But what we do is, for example, FedEx delivery packages. You're like, am I expecting a package?
Because that's an easy one to click.
It's an easy one, right? But also, you know, like a Canada Post didn't deliver your package. You know, we're getting people to start thinking, why is Canada Post emailing me? And how did Canada Post get my email?
Yeah.
You know, this seems weird.
Yeah.
But we sent those out, and some of them can get really, really, no, I wouldn't say personal, but like, you know, say for example, you use a particular Sage, for example, for your accounting.
I've seen those,
we will create one that's particular to or dedicated to Sage, and somebody might click on that.
Yeah.
So then once we train people of how to recognize that, then we say, this is why you should have recognized that you shouldn't have clicked that link or whatever. You know, so there's training that goes into it after, you know, we even set up one of those phishing simulations. So there's a lot of different ways that we can help customers or partners to become more secure.
Love it.
You know, and passwords and key managers and multi-factor authentication is just one of those ways.
Yeah, and it's almost like, to me, the step one, like you need to make sure, like that's something that everyone can do, is making sure that you're secure with your passwords. And in the little tidbit from today of just picking a song or a nursery rhyme or something is a great little takeaway, and by adding digits and like just small little things. And I love the idea of just adding the F at the end. Like that's, to me, such a great takeaway for today that everyone can do. Like everyone who's listening should go and do that today.
Do it now.
Just go and add it. I'm like, oh, I got to go do that. But it's such a smart way to make sure that you're extra secure. You're adding, like the layer that you just said, it blows my mind that it adds so many years of or so much time of complexity just by doing that. So.
Yes.
Anything that we might have not covered that we want to chat about before we sign off today?
Boy, I think we did.
We did a lot, eh?
We did a lot.
The takeaway is, I mean, I always say we can't cover everything. You might have other questions that maybe we didn't answer. Reach out. Like that's what we say. Reach out to the team at Innovate. I know you'd be more than happy to talk to them and see how you can help them out. And if they have a question, at the very least, the takeaway is go and make sure your passwords are secure, and take away these little tidbits that we talked about today, because I think they'll go a long way. So Kendall, thank you for joining me. I look forward to our next session together and what we're going to keep debunking and talking about security. So I love it. So thanks for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Tech Talk. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.